So Ashok, you're able to see my screen.
Yes, yes,
So why don't you read the message?
definitely. Avatar Meher Baba ki Jai, three of Meher Baba's favorite couplets of Hafiz, a mystical Persian poet, befitting a fortunate slave, carry out every command of the master without any question of why and what. About what you hear from the master, never say it is wrong because, my dear, the fault lies in your own incapacity to understand him. I am slave of the master who has released me from ignorance. Whatever my master does is of the highest benefit to all concerned. Hafiz. Avatar Meher Baba ki Jai.
God Meher Baba ki Jai. Beautiful messages. So let's continue our journey. Uh, just to pep things up a little bit. So, what's the poetic form that the next part of this book that we're going to read? Anybody remembers? So the next one is John Kerry. So, what's the poetic form that we are going to expect there? Anybody? Or even what's the poetic form that of the book that we're reading right now, which is the first one?
This has the 7-line stanza.
Stanzas,
Next one
yes.
will have 14 line per stanza, I think, if I
Correct. So
remember. Yeah,
that's a sonnet. Yeah, that's a sonnet.
sonnet.
But from a literary perspective, that's a love song, and this is an epic. So epic is a longish poem, and Iliad, Odyssey are epic poems. Mahabharata is a epic poem, and so on. So this what we're reading right now is on the genre of epic, and what we are going to go to in the love song is uh, what do you call uh,
Sonnet.
no, love song. So the genre will
Love
be love
song.
song.
So,
The
yes, sir.
meter
Meter.
will be
Okay.
I think meter is sonnet, or maybe there's different meters for that as well. I mean, that's what I remember. I'm not too much of a grammar or poetry purist, but let's get started. Yeah. Any thoughts from yesterday's reading? Any questions from the notes? Any um, reactions? Oh, by the way, I'm doing a second session this morning at Bangalore on nothing and the everything. So I'm going to be talking about the diagram that I so love. This is the divine theme in the circular fashion, and I'm going to talk about the two kings and Sheshanag and Vishnupada. So took some doing. I had to research and reread again, but I think, as I keep saying, the best way to learn is to teach. Right. So I'm looking forward to that. Mamaji, you're coming.
Uh, Probably not. Uh, Tied up
Okay.
with
No.
some other thing.
No.
Okay.
No problem. No problem.
Okay.
All right. So if there's no comments, let's get started. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. We stopped on page 53 midway, so we'll continue from there. We are in the last section of part one of the book. I have explained to
Karthik,
you. Yeah, Ashok. Go ahead.
if you could just summarize what happened yesterday, I missed that actually. Just in a
Okay.
précis form.
Sure, sure. So what happened yesterday was we were in the last section, and he's actually talking about the Baba's form, and he introduces John Kerry in that's the main thing. John Kerry is the pen name he gives himself, and he's kind of summarizing everything. So he finished with the Sahwas. The previous section was the 1956 Sahwas, and then now it's more about eulogizing Baba and introducing the part of John Kerry. I think it's almost coming to a close, I think. Anyway, we'll see. Yeah.
Perfect.
We'll see how.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right. Jai Baba. I have explained to you why and how you are God. But remember that so long as you do not become this truth, you will be posing and pretending if you say you are God. Posing and pretending is the only sin God never forgives. If you know yourself to be an ordinary man, do not pretend to be a saint and become a Satan. If you know you are a scoundrel, you need not think you are not worthy to love and be loved by God, the ocean of forgiveness. So he takes two extreme positions and gives them the treatment that the divine law gives you. If you know yourself to be an ordinary man, do not pretend to be a saint. And if you do that, you become a Satan. If you know you are a scoundrel, you need not think you're not worthy to love and be loved by God, who, he says, is the ocean of forgiveness. Although, from the point of view of drop as ocean, there is no past and future, only the ever present. From the drop as drop viewpoint, it requires millions and millions of years to know your own eternity. You understand all this, but when you arrive at conviction, if a dog bit you, you would not for a moment forget that the dog and you are one. The condition of consciousness would be the beginning of knowledge, the end of which is the divine authority to assert, I am God. I repeat, this condition of consciousness would be the beginning of knowledge, the end of which is the divine authority to assert, I am God. Another good line here is you understand all this, but when you arrive at conviction, if a dog bit you, you would not for a moment forget that the dog and you are one. So, till such time that you identify with things that are apart from you, hey, you're yet to arrive. So let's remember that and continue further. It is no joke to love God. He is so infinitely beautiful, so infinitely precious, and so infinitely infinite that even if you had an infinite number of lives and cut each life into an infinite number of pieces by way of an offering to Him of your love, it would not necessarily be enough for you to become one with this beloved who is the sum and beyond of all beloveds. Age after age, I come down to give you my love and to receive your love. Love me, but never let your love escape in words through your lips to others. To speak of your love is a boasting and an insult to love. Even a saint can fall through such expressions of egotism. Love is a flame, and to speak of love is to choke that flame with smoke. Real love is a clear flame which burns up everything, leaving only God. Love me, and when you go from here, take me with you. So, love is a flame, and to speak of love is to choke that flame with smoke. So, even speaking of love is not really recommended. Real love is a clear flame which burns up everything, leaving only God. So this is a theme again that's recurring, right? It's the Sufi concept of a flame which burns up, the love which is like a fire that burns, or a lamp that burns leads to the union, right? So thus,
Here, In that stanza, who is talking here? Not clear about it. Is it Baba or Francis?
It's Baba. It's Baba.
Okay.
It's Baba. It's as though it's Baba, but not straight from a message. So if you see the last section, we had those quotation marks where he was quoting from the highest of the high message. So these are like Baba is saying, but not verbatim or straight away from one of his messages. That's what I would take this to be. Okay. So next one.
So basically, you're saying, Karthik, that it's a subtle message here.
Yes. Yeah. Thus, Baba explained to them through his love, through the words of his faithful interpreter, the ways and the way of love. Love, ever lovely and glorious and bright, the one being God, their own self, who appears as many, but in reality is one, and encourage them to awake from their sleep-in dreams and their sleep in God and their dreaming in wakefulness and know themselves as God. And their doubts were dispersed as mist before the sun, and they were lifted up to gaze at him in amazement. So he finally wraps up this section by saying that there was a positive impact. Beautiful stanza, so I'll read it again. Thus, Baba explained to them through his love, through the words of his faithful interpreter, the ways and the way of love. Love, ever lovely and glorious and bright. The one being, God, their one self, who appears as many, but in reality is one, and encourage them to awake from their sleep in dreams and their sleep in God and their dreaming in wakefulness and know themselves as God. And their doubts were dispersed as mist before the sun, and they were lifted up to gaze at him in amazement. Right. Beautiful end to this section. So this I think is the coda, right? Yeah, the next is the book. So do you remember this word coda that Ward introduced us to? Anybody? So coda is actually a finale. So it's more a musical term. So you have a series of lines that make up your composition. At the end, you have a coda. So it brings out the beauty, but in a short burst. So you might have multiple lines of music with little bits of variation and try to build up a crescendo of sorts. And in the end, you have a little piece that kind of summarizes, and it's like the finale. That's how Ward explains a coda to be. And I think all of the songs, I mean, all of the poems, all the 5 parts have a coda. And so now we're going to see the coda for the part 1, which is the end. So the coda is very short. So obviously it's the shortest piece of all the pieces, all the sections that we have had till now. So here, the other reasoning or other explanation for coda is it will bring out and summarize the whole musical piece. So in the same way, he says this coda does a good job of summarizing what he hoped to achieve in this part. So let's explore that. Thus, he starts, God's descent as a man and men near to him, the disciples and the plainsmen, some toiling the terrible smiling passes, some nearly finished their journey, and one by grace his journey done, and the many poor who are always on earth, and the 1,001 guests who stayed with God, and the villagers who live by his name. God, his glory, and his gentleness, and his brotherhood with men. Lots of things being conveyed here. So let's try to break it up. First is God's descent as a man and men near to him. So he's talking about his mandali, the disciples, and the plainsmen. Here he's talking about nice way of describing those that are in the different plains, the plainsmen. Some toiling the terrible smiling passes. I don't know what that means. Why they are terrible smiling passes and why do you need to toil? Let's mark it out and see if there's anything that we can get out later, but that's something we need to check. Some nearly finished their journey. That is, some made a lot of progress on the plains and got closer to God realization. And one, by grace, his journey done. Now, I'm sure it's referring to one of the mandali or one of the people that Baba had already said by that time that he's come to him, right? And we need to find out who he's referring to here. And the many poor who are always on the earth, and the 1,001 guests who stayed with God. So again, the reference to 1,001. So what is the 1,001 he's referring to here? It's the
1,001 is the
yes
number referred to the path.
No, it's actually the 1,001 people that he referred to in yesterday's reading for the number of Sahavasis. So 250,
200,
so
yes,
50 into 4,
yes,
and the 1,001 is John Kerry. The one is John Kerry. So he says 1,000 and John Kerry. So in the same way, he says 1,001 guests. And then he brings the name of the book for the first time. So, and the 1,001 guests who stayed with God, right? And the villagers who live by his name, God, his glory and his gentleness and his brotherhood with men. So there is his the villagers who live by his name, his glory, his gentleness, and his brotherhood with men. So beautiful start to the coda.
This toiling the terrible,
Toiling,
terrible smiling passes. Can it be the must?
Maybe because the must could also be the plainsmen.
Plainsmen, but they are not aware of what is happening and they are passing through terrible times because of the people around them, possibly.
Possible, yeah, possible. So 53, is there any notes we are missing? Let's go quickly. Oh yeah, we are missing. So we did Junaid, we did threshold of old age. That's I remember because that was the 50 years, second reference to 50 years. Yeah, we missed Isa. So Isa. So let's go back and quickly check 54. Oh, we are yet to come to Isa. Yeah, we are yet to come to Isa. Okay.
Okay.
But there is no reference to what we wanted to check, which is toiling the terrible smiling passes. So anyway, I marked that out. Let's see if we're able to get. Yeah, Ashok, you were saying something.
Yeah, so basically, there is a reference in God speaks about the 1,001, and also the inner circle. Yes, there is.
Yeah, that's what I also remembered.
Okay.
Because in that hierarchy, the base is around 1,000, I think. So as we climb the path,
is the chapter on the inner circle. So the inner circle has got, I think, 122 or something. And then
correct, but is it 1,001? Maybe we're on something.
There's a mention of 1,001 people who are on the path, at all times,
right? Yeah, here it is.
Yes, yes.
It's 7001. Huh?
Oh, 7001.
It's
Oh,
7001. Yeah,
And
seven
there's
thousand and one.
some figure on top. What is that? Thousand. Oh, it's 5,600.
Yeah, 5600. So, by the way, this 1001 I picked up from Ward. So
that is
he
okay.
mentions the 250 into 4, and the two references to 1001. He says that the one is John Kerry. So that's what I remember. So, but yeah, this is a good double check. So it's not 1001; it's 7001.
7,000.
Fine.
Okay.
And also this 1955 Sehwas, it was in 4 weeks of 250
Yes,
each.
4 weeks. Each
correct.
batch had 250 people.
The 4
John
languages.
Kerry
Yeah.
is the other person.
Additional guy. He's the extra. Okay.
So, John,
So I don't know. I don't know why. Yeah. Yeah. Go
why
ahead,
the
Ravi.
why did he use the word name John Kerry?
So that's his pen name, and I think he's even written a book in that name. But Ward actually builds on that and says that it's a very good construct because it's something like a creating an aura and distancing yourself from the person, right? So one is the poet himself, and he's creating this other personality as a construct to bring out the relationship that he had with Baba, right?
Oh, I see. I
So
see. I see.
yeah, so it's a
That's
persona that he creates. And he introduces that in this book, and then in the next book, it's a love song by John Kerry to Baba,
I see.
right? So that's the way he's building it up, right? Okay, let's
Very good. Thank you.
yeah, sure. Let's continue. The one being who is beyond comprehension of intellect and heart, but who is infinitely and immediately knowable in his avatar, Baba, in caps. The same as was called Zarathustra, gleaming bright, and pure intelligence. So Zarathustra is gleaming bright and pure intelligence. Krishna, glorious player of heart music. Rama, of love's bow and streaming arrows. Buddha, of immaculate compassion. Isa, perfect and divine swordsman. Muhammad, perfect man living with men, example and demonstrator of democracy. The same, he says, right? So again, all the themes are repeating over and over again, but the usage is very, very beautiful here on the way he describes each of the avatars. We can actually read it again. The one being who is beyond comprehension of intellect and heart, but who is infinitely and immediately knowable in his avatar, Baba. The same as was called Zarathustra, gleaming bright and pure intelligence. Krishna, glorious player of heart music. Rama, of love's bow and streaming arrows. Buddha, of immaculate compassion. Isa, perfect and divine swordsman. Muhammad, perfect man, living with men, example and demonstrator of democracy. The same, he says. So, Ward also points out how Jesus is portrayed by Francis as a very important warrior and a fighter, whereas the biblical references and traditional Christianity gives him more pious and compassionate biographical outlook. So if you notice, even in the earlier paragraphs, there were references to lion, right? He's not a lamb, but he's a lion. So that's again brought out here, where he says, Isa, perfect and divine swordsman. That's the description he gives for Christ. So let's go to the next one.
Yeah. So basically, Karthik, it could refer to uh, the burning need of that particular era. So,
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So it's what was required, like you rightly said, for that time, right? So the God man does what is relevant to, as I said, to give a push to humanity, and it's entirely dependent on the samskaras of that time, of all the humans and how things were at that time. Yeah.
Correct. And the same means that his the God, the universal force remains the same. Would it mean that? I mean, just
No, I think it's more than that, right? So he's saying what we have learned from Meher Baba, that it's the same person coming again and again. So he's saying Zarathustra, Krishna, Rama, Buddha, Muhammad are exactly the same. It's the same person who's just come again.
all are one.
What's that? Yeah, yeah, all are one.
All
All are
are
one.
one.
All, yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Same God in the different roles as per the requirement of the situation at
Of
that
the
time.
age. Yeah,
Yes.
perfect. Okay, let's move to the next stanza. The one towards whom Odysseus, the now twice born, set up sail in his ship, well stocked by lovely haired Circe, after she had lovingly tested him and brought him part ways on his way to glory. The one for whom the whole Achaean host strove in fearful labor to bring back pure and shining moon Helen, and so purely win his grace, for whom they made burnt sacrifice of their own desires and poured out the wine of their blood in offerings. So, all of these references in this stanza are all from Odyssey and Iliad, I think. Maybe there are notes to support us a little bit here. Yes, there is. Achaean host is the Greek army. If you remember Circe in the earlier stanza and the reference, she tests him and then offers herself in love. I think I may be wrong, but there's a test that Francis refers to. So that is again pointed out here. Lovingly tested him and brought him part ways on his way to glory, and then after that he goes to the war and succeeds. Right, the one indeed for whom the whole Achaean host strove in fearful labor. So here he says they are all the army, and then they strove in fearful labor to bring back pure and shining moon Helen. The heroine of that episode is the Helen of Troy, and so purely win his grace. But the objective of the war, though it was to win back Helen, they actually end up getting his grace. That's the point he's making. For whom they made a sacrifice by burning all their desires, and they offered their blood as the wine. Right. So that's the analogy he brings. Let's continue. The one, indeed, for whom all ships ever set out over dark seas and trackless oceans, it is his shoreless ocean of truth they seek, for whom all camps and settlements are made and settled and struck, and the march resumed, for whom all songs are poured, both in praise of his last brightness and in certainty of his next love bringing, as are the singers sacrificed of themselves for him, like crystal glasses at a banquet, their stems snapped after the royal toasting. So, very, very beautiful lines. In fact, I just love this whole stanza. Let me read it, let me mark it, and oops, I don't want a red mark. Yeah, let's read it again. The one indeed for whom all ships ever set out over dark seas. So he is the one, the God, for whom all ships are going to get to, right? That's the target of all the ships in the trackless ocean, where it is his shoreless ocean of truth they seek. So though they are setting out to get there, what they are getting to is his shoreless ocean, for whom all camps and settlement are made and settled and struck, and the march resumed. So even when you stop on the way in this journey and this war, and set up camps and settlements, they are all for him, for whom all songs are poured, both in praise of his last brightness and in certainty of his next love bringing. So the songs are singing his praise of his last brightness. This is a reference to the body of songs and music that is about the last avatar. So every tradition has that, right? So you have Christian hymns, you have verses in Hinduism, and so on and so forth. And in certainty of his next love bringing. That is also it talks about the last brightness and talks also about his next coming. As are the singers sacrificed of themselves for him. And he uses an analogy here, like crystal glasses at a banquet, their stems snapped after the royal toasting. So this again, Ward was helpful in understanding this. So what Ward pointed out is there is a Jewish tradition, especially in weddings and formal functions, to have these long-stemmed wine glasses, drink the wine, and at the end of it, you actually break the stems. So the stick portion of the where you hold the cups, the goblets, the stick is actually broken. So it's like a sacrifice, right? So he says the singers are actually sacrificing him with the analogy of that crystal glasses at a banquet. So that's what it is. Then any questions, any thoughts? Okay, let's continue. The one for whom the reckless of life ones, the musts and the salics, throw away their lives, sunbeat and thirst and mirage sharpness, moon glint and craziness, and enrapment and the holy night, and the dark night of
Hollow night.
oh, and the hollow night, sorry, and the dark night of calling, and the calling ceased, and the blood turned to milk, and tears, tears, tears. The path treaders and the goal arrivers in you, Baba, and their Majzubiat, drowned, drowned, utterly drowned in your love. Let's read it again. The one for whom the reckless of life wants. I like this. The one for whom the reckless of life wants, the musts and salics, throw away their lives. Sunbeat and thirst and mirage sharpness, moon glint and craziness, and enrapment and the hollow night, and the dark night of calling, and the calling ceased, and the blood turned to milk, and tears, tears, tears. The path treaders and the goal arrivers in you, Baba and their Majzubiat, drowned, drowned, utterly drowned in your love. Anybody wants to try to explain this? I like the expression reckless of life once. Baba said this even in discourses and multiple times, right? To actually take on the pursuit of loving God and going down the journey of spirituality, you have to be reckless of life. So for the one for whom the reckless of life wants, the musts and salics, of course, throw away their lives. So they're ready to throw away their lives and go after, loving and following him, right? And then what, again, Ward mentions about the dark night of calling. It's a biblical concept where there is a reference to the dark night before the realization. So it's like a period of intense sorrow, I think, before you actually reach the final path, final goal. So I believe he uses this dark night multiple places. This biblical reference Francis uses multiple times. So he says, and the dark night of calling and the calling ceased, and the blood turned to milk, and tears, tears, tears. So maybe there's something to do with blood in that analogy. And that, he says, in the case of Baba, turned to milk and tears, because we are also consumed by his love. The path treaders and the goal arrivers in you, Baba, and their Majzubiyat, drowned, drowned, utterly drowned in your love. So that's the coda. And there is a note on the Majzubiyat. Let's quickly read it. Majzubiyat, the state of consciousness at which everyone, whether mast or salik, crazy or balanced, arrives, and in which the last vestige of falseness is wiped out, and one is drowned in the ocean of truth, one's own true being, either to remain in endless perfect identification, or rarely to return with this identification unbroken to the world of men as a real servant of humanity. See, God speaks for the exact details of all the various states of consciousness, including this. If you recollect, I think 2-3 weeks back, we went and read in God Speaks about Majzubiyat, Paramahamsa, and the one that stays in that state of Majzubiyat is a Majzub. The one who is able to alternate is a Paramahamsa. That's what I remember. Right. So we finished part 1. So it ends with a little piece of art.
Any idea about what is the diagram or a picture?
Yeah, I don't know. There's a cycle, and is that the faithful interpreter, or is it the unnamed Baba lover representing all of us? Is that a cross that we see?
Or a tea, travel, whatever it is, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, the
Oh,
face
yeah.
looks like,
Face
the
looks
face looks
like?
like Baba, right?
Oh, of course, of course. The face that's facing us is surely Baba. The one that's being embraced, I'm saying, is a matter of conjecture. It could be
Nobody.
the faceless, nameless, all of us, or it could be, we don't know. And then why cycle? I don't know. And whether
Maybe
it's
travel, spiritual path, travel. Tea is also seen here. I don't know. Maybe
The cycle
wild
has got
guess.
the front light. You observe that?
Yes.
Probably the cycle would refer to the planes, I think. The cycle of a person becoming a human being, and then thereafter the 7 planes, and you reach the.
Hey, that's a good
you reach-
idea. Yeah, possible.
Possible. I mean, I have no. It's just it's just a thought which came to my mind.
Cycle to represent cycles of
Cycle of life and death.
Yep, absolutely. So quite a bit of interpretations, and all of them are right, because beauty is in the eyes and the mind of the beholder. So enjoy what your interpretation is. Any other thoughts as we close part 1? So again, summarizing. So part 1 had multiple sections. I think 7 sections and a coda of varying sizes. All of the stanzas were 7-line stanzas, and it was in the format of a epic poem. And we are now going to the love song, the love song genre, and the love song is a very prominent format in spirituality as well, right? So the Sufis use love as a common metaphor. I mean, when I'm saying they use it as a metaphor or a theme, it's more the lover and the beloved being represented as real to humans, or described like you would describe human love, right? And if you listen to the What Park talks that I've shared earlier, you'll see how he covers and gives examples of those as well. And he points out what happens in these love songs, right? So you're either talking about separation, that is your desire to be connected back and get back to union with your beloved. And this is even in a ordinary love song, right? So if it's just a love song, like whatever, right, in Western music, or you take a love song in Bollywood, the love song generally talks about either praise or separation, right? So that's the two things he says. And then if you sit back and think about it, that's what it is. It's either praising the beauty of the beloved, or you're talking about, hey, I miss you. It's been so long. I can't wait to see you again. So these are the two dominant themes. So he says both of those appear in the song as well. So let's jump in and see what's there, what's in store for us. Any comments? Any thoughts? We're moving from one book to another, so please jump in and give your reactions to how this journey of stay with God has been.
It's all very confusing for me. It's not a smooth flow.
You have been absent. You're not being a good student. You're not being in continuous touch. You're not reading. You're not doing it. You
I know
didn't do
I
the
tried
primer.
that. The reason why I'm
didn't-
keeping quiet is it's why can't he write? That's
Prose and
my
be done with
frustration.
it.
Just straight sentences. Love Baba. I was with Baba. This is what he said.
That's
As
it.
simple as that. This is too complicated for me.
Why shouldn't a Westerner react like that to Bhagavad Gita, Ravi?
Well, the style itself is different, right?
No, but
The
that's
Bhagavad Gita, the
complicated as
song.
well. That's complicated as well. Is open to multiple ways of interpretation. It's not for the faint-hearted. You need good command over language to be able to understand it. Commentaries have been written about it.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
this is of that genre. This is of that realm. And
It's
given,
literature.
yeah, exactly.
It's
So
literature, actually. Literature, if it is made
I mean-
too simple, then it doesn't remain as literature.
But I agree. Baba himself
Yeah.
recommended to the lovers to read the book,
yeah, so
But it's
I
my problem. It's my problem. It's not my cup of tea.
Okay.
I told you long back, right? The first time I saw this book, I saw the title and I liked it in NPR, took it to the room, and I didn't go past 2 pages because I didn't know what was happening. Okay, I did
Correct.
not go.
Correct. So
go-
Ravi, keep sipping.
Yes.
Keep
Yeah,
sipping
I
bit
did.
by bit.
I did that too. I did that too.
You'll
I was
start.
with
Maybe you'll start
Minneapolis.
liking the tea. Yeah. Maybe start liking the tea. Yeah. Hey, Baba.
Yeah. Tea, coffee, wine,
I
whatever.
think this format is sort of a necessity to bring in so many things together in a thought process. You can imagine the thought process of the writer, the poet, wherein so many things are brought in into some sort of a rhythm. And then he's linking literature, he's linking spiritual thought world over, and he's linking the avatars and then putting them all together in his own way of writing. So this sort of a complex writing is only formatted in poetry because they would like to use least words to bring out the vast knowledge, uh, thought process, and all that. That will be difficult for mortals like us to immediately grasp all the things. So it takes time, effort. So Ravi, you need time and effort.
I'm
Yeah,
not
Baba.
making this up, right? So I have listened to 20 plus hours of Word Parts over
Mm.
those two playlists that I sent, and still I'm struggling. So I don't blame you, Ravi, but I'm loving it. And as I've done this effort, I'm loving this. So I exhort all of you also to try. Because there's so much, like Mama said, there's so much in these lines, and there's so much of thought, love, and care Francis has put into it, right? That's pretty obvious. And it's for us to uncover, not just in this reading, but over time. We'll keep sipping maybe in private and then enjoy this. So, I mean, these phrases, like Shakespeare, right? It grows on you, right? I still love so many lines that I've read in school. They will never go away from my head because they're so beautiful. But then initially, you read two lines of Shakespeare and you say, hey, tell me what you want to say. Why make it so complicated? Right? And then it grows on you. Right? So I think I agree with Sanjay's comment. Just keep sipping. So next interpretation. What do we have? What do we have here? So I have a guess, but I'll keep quiet. I'll listen to all of you, and then I'll probably give my interpretation. So what is the interpretation of this?
Search only for Baba. Basically, he's looking in his eyes
Okay.
and in his mouth. Just keep repeating his name.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
Beautiful,
I think.
beautiful, beautiful,
And
beautiful.
in the ears, you keep always hearing about him. Lot of messages. That's why so many Babas are there. In the
Beautiful.
mouth, just repeat his name. That's enough.
No,
Okay.
somewhere I read Baba said chanting out Baba's name louder is more beneficial compared to chanting within your own mind. And by chanting outside, you're listening to the whatever you're saying. That's what I see in this picture.
Oh,
Absolutely,
that's also.
absolutely. So I'll make my point. I mean, all your interpretations are beautiful, right? But let's see what I think it is. As a side view. So he's got a good prominent sideburn, right? See this? Where is that photograph? Yeah,
It's
look
back.
at this.
Yeah.
So look at this, and then look at this. Where is that? Yeah. So it's basically Francis with Baba as the focus of his eye, and yeah, that's what this book is about, right? It's the love song where the beloved is filling his eyes and his ears, and I think the biographical element is this prominent sideburn, which gives away that it's actually Francis, I think.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Nice interpretation. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start. Let's fall in love. Okay, back in Australia, the most east of the West, John Kerry continued the exile he had begun so and so many millions of lives ago through his own act of waking up and wanting to know exactly who he was. A musical question which turned out to be a fugal proposition of infinite possible development. Okay, back in Australia. Now, again, this was an interpretation Ward made. I would have struggled with this line otherwise. So, the most east of the West. So, what he's saying is, though it's the easternmost country, it's classified as West, right? From a
Yes.
culture standpoint, from a culture and I mean, it's occidental in geography, but it's Occidental, Oriental in geography, but Occidental in culture and style and so on. So the most east of the west is what he says. John Kerry continued the exile he had begun so many millions of years ago through his own act of waking up and wanting to know exactly who he was. A musical question which turned out to be a fugal proposition of infinite possible development. Let's quickly check what fugal means, or is it a typo for frugal? I don't know. Fugal.
Infection.
No. That's fungal. Of the nature of fugue. What does fugal mean? Oh, to act as a guide or model. Does that fit into where we are? A guiding proposition of infinite possible development. I don't know. I give up. Anybody? Ravi is already asking, hey, John Kerry, why can't this be simpler? Tell me what you want to say. Anyway, we'll let that pass, but we'll mark it out. So maybe there's something interesting that will come out.
Wanting to know exactly who he was. And there is a pause and a musical question which turned out to be a fugal proposition of infinite possible development. So that question, who he was, is the one which
who am I?
prompted him to go ahead in the spiritual path. But, how do we catch that fugal? I don't know.
Yeah, we find out.
Yes.
So we go further. His frequently used terms sunbeat and rainbeat to say a lot of time has passed. And sunbeat and rainbeat, veil upon veil, day veil of brightness, night veil of dark, face veils and form veils, gossamer spun, crowded close and thickly, sail veils and flag veil, hoisted over veil of sea, veil voyage and returning, rain veil of weeping, and a place he hoped where none knew of ships and journeying, and the far shadowing spear of his glance. Baba, thou beloved. Now, the other thing, some historical background to all of you. I think we covered this in the initial part. I'm just restating. Francis is half Irish, born in England, spent his early years there, middle class background. Father moved to Australia. So that's the context, right? So that's just some more background about the author, about the poet in this case. So what do we make of veil? What does this remind you, this style of writing from the earlier book? Remember the way he played similarly with the word poor, soul poor, ladder rung poor, brother poor. Remember that stanza? So in the same way, he uses the word veil here, sunbeat and rainbeat, veil upon veil. So all we are going through in this journey is a series of veils. So we have a day veil of brightness, night veil of dark, phase veils and form veils, gossamer spun. Let's look up gossamer, crowded close and thickly, sail veils and flag veils over veil of sea. So again, sail veils and flag veils are identities, right? So veil is nothing but an identity in a sense. So sail is an identity because sails declare what kind of ship you are, which country or formation you represent. Flag, of course, similar, but then it does it even on any context. You can have a flag over your house, you can have it over your church, whatever. Over veil of sea, veil voyage and returning. A rain veil of weeping. So a lot of sorrowness, which is a rain of weeping. And a place he hoped where none knew of ships and journeying. and the far shadowing spear of his glance, Baba, thou beloved. So he's talking about his experiences through all the ways, and then the far shadowing spear of his glance. So there is a long shadow of the spear of his glance. So that's what he says. And I think, if I remember correctly, I heard this quite some time back, he uses the spear as the way of symbolizing Baba's love, right? So the spear piercing into John Kerry and striking his heart is the way he describes the relationship. So he's starting with that theme potentially here. So he says, far shadowing spear of his glance, Baba, thou beloved. Anybody else? Any other interpretations?
Here the whales can also be represented as so many, say, births and deaths also, and going through so many types of overhauls in the same birth also. So we go through so many experiences. Maybe that is also represented. So it's a complex way of. So you go through so many upheavals, and then ultimately, unless that pierce hits you, you are still in the same travail.
True. So, and both these stanzas are symbolically talking about the multiple lives John Kerry has had before this, right? So, like you rightly said, it's not just the description of what he's experienced till he came to Baba in this birth as John Kerry, but from lives beyond. That's the way to see it. Yeah. And quickly, Gossamer. Who's the English
Gossamer
pro
is,
here?
No, gossamer is one, say, insect which
fine filmy substance. You were close. Fine filmy substance consisting of cobwebs spun by small spiders, seen especially in autumn. So spider silk is gossamer. So let's go back. Form whales gossamer spun. So it's like different webs of nature, different webs of spiders that have created multiple forms, and you've gone through those forms. Form whales, gossamer spun up like spiders' webs, I think. Form whales spun up like spiders' webs. Beautiful. Beautiful, Ravi. Nursing his wound, never healing, but widening. Oh, yeah, so the spear is back. Nursing his wound, never healing, but widening because the spearhead remained in it. Widening and love festering. So, festering wound of the spearhead. Sewing off whale flesh. I don't know what sewing off means, but maybe damaging or getting rid of whale flesh.
Getting rid of.
Okay.
Whale flesh.
Getting rid of whale flesh, which is your body, gross body. Widening cleanly and the spearhead of bliss, entering more deeply into the flesh whales, ever more hungrily and healingly. So hungrily sounds like it's a negative push of the spear, and healingly is the positive push of the spear, where it's actually getting closer to you and giving you more love and compassion. As the sun
it can
into
be
the
more
earth,
positive also, hungrily. So you
hungrily
want
to
more
fulfill
and
that
more
hunger.
of Baba's love.
Yeah, correct. True. As the sun into the earth, when the farmer sets his plow more deeply into the sour subsoil where no sun has been before. So it's like the farmer's excitement when he sees the sun hit his subsoil and he sets up his plow after a long period of no sun. Right? So that's the analogy for the love of Baba being received. Right? Each day of day drag or day flight curtained within the three curtains of sleep veil, dream veil, and awake veil. Sleep the forgetter and dream the distortioner and wakefulness. The cruel concretizes who sets the dreams in solid forms. The painter whose brushstrokes are the bones and whose color is the teeming flesh squeezed out, out of tubes of nerves.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I think you should read it once again.
I will. Each day
The
of day drag.
the wakefulness is explained in 3 lines after that, I think.
Correct. Each day of day drag or day flight curtained within the 3 curtains of sleep veil and dream veil and awake veil. So those are the 3 states. Those are 3 veils of each day. Sleep the forgetter and dream the distortioner and wakefulness. So those 2 are the descriptions of both. Sleep is basically where you forget everything. Dream is what creates the distortions. And wakefulness, the cruel concretizes who sets the dreams in solid forms. The painter whose brushstrokes are the bones and whose color is the teeming flesh squeezed out of tubes of nerves. So the wakefulness brings us back into this gross body, which the brushstrokes are the bones. So if it's somebody painting up the gross body again, he uses his tubes of colors, which are nothing but the nerves, and then uses a series of brushstrokes as the bones, and that makes up the gross form. I think I remember now he talks about the skeleton being created by brushstrokes when I heard the videos. Yeah. Sure. Any other thoughts in this?
Say nerves are the tubes which bring out the colors. So all our feelings, emotions, everything is coming out of those nerves, and then we enjoy or suffer with all the different colors coming out of that. So you can imagine things like that. He is a poet and an artist. He brings all his thoughts in his own way. In a few lines, he is trying to explain such a lot of things.
Absolutely.
Each one can imagine in his own way all that what he is trying to say. Hey, Baba.
Yeah, or get confused as well. This is tough.
No. If you have that trial of his thought, the direction of his thought,
yes.
Maybe you can always go like in a single way. Otherwise, you get
all over
astray.
True. Good point. I mean, you're right. So let's continue. Nursing the wound, gazing with admiration on the face of the lovely spearman, Baba, he was saying to himself, small wonder and great wonder things are as they are, and this business of everything and nothing, this business of being nothing and somebody, nobody feeling he is something in your hand, Baba, or else nothing before your feet. So he brings out the core of Baba's ontology, nothing and the everything. And so it's a beautiful play of the words. Let's read it again for it to register. Nursing the wound, he says, Gazing with admiration on the face of the lovely spearman, he was saying to himself, that is John Kerry now, small wonder and great wonder, things are as they are, and this business of everything and nothing. This business of being nothing. So he acknowledges that as drop soul, he's nothing. And nobody feeling he's something. So though he is nothing, his small ego self recognizes that he's something. Something. But then he goes on, in your hand, Baba, or else nothing before your feet. Beautiful, right? Patience, fool, he was telling himself. Yap of nothing about something, which turns out to be nothing. Yap not of piddle pool puddling, instead of sitting quiet by the crystal stream, gold flecked of his love. And then in the next stanza, he beats that up. He says, patience, fool, he was telling himself. Yap of nothing about something, which turns out to be nothing. Yap note of piddle pool puddling. So he's comparing a small piddle pool puddle, instead of sitting quietly by the large crystal stream with gold flecks in it of his love. So he's saying this nothing, thinking that it is something and being a somebody is like a piddle pool puddling compared to sitting quietly by the gold flecked crystal stream. To advantage when you sit still. You don't feel the kick in the bones so much, and you give him a chance to do something. Baba, thou beloved, you Baba. So he says there are two advantages when you just sit back and sit by this crystal stream. You don't feel the kick in the bones. So is that Baba's kick in the bones? Or you also give him, and you also give him a chance to do something. Again, here the reference is for Baba to do something, right? Is that the right way to understand this? Anybody else?
You don't feel the kick in the bones, probably is the physical disabilities of walking around, doing things, the pains of all that, and probably that you will not have when you sit in meditation or things like that. And you give him a chance to do something. So, Baba, beloved, you Baba. Okay.
So, so who are you giving that chance to do something? It's Baba, right?
It's Baba. So,
correct.
sit still is the stilling
probably
of the
meditation. Yeah. Yes. Good interpretation. So we have a poet amongst us. Your interpretation, your interpretations are correct. Right. So, wait a minute. Notes. Are there notes we are missing? Oh no, 62. Please remember
yes,
Abu
I
Said.
remembered 62.
62 Abu Said. Okay. Okay, let's continue. Stop wanting when you are lying down to raise yourself onto your knees. And stop wanting to lie down and cover your head with a blanket when you're standing up. Stop wanting a job with dry land and lovely rivers. Leave it to him. He knows the time of seed time and growth time and fruit time, both in space time and continent time. Baba, thou son of the gold of the spear and its widening and healing. So back to the spear, but then beautiful coverage of how we should surrender. So stop wanting, he says. When you're lying down, you're always wanting to stand up. When you're lying, when you're sleeping, you want to stand up. So I'll read the line again. Stop wanting when you're lying down to raise yourself onto your knees, and stop wanting to lie down and cover your head with a blanket when you're standing up. Stop wanting a job with dry land and lovely rivers. Leave it to him. He knows the time of seed time and growth time and fruit time. Here it's a agrarian reference, agricultural reference. So he's saying he knows when to, till the land and put the seed. He knows when it will grow and when it's time to harvest. Fruit time is harvest. And then he goes on, both in space time and continent time. So he says in human time, obviously, which is continent time, and also in the space-time construct. He knows the time when you are ready. Until then, it's not going to happen. So why worry and just leave it to him? Beautiful para, right? Turn in yourself, John. Bring back your eyes, fond man, from restless visioning. What is it to you that an eye is furtive, a lip derisive, that speech is ruined and no eyes lightning indicts the pages of books in lovely verse? Become in your seeing blind, in your hearing deaf, or ever the lovely tide of spring will find you lip clinging to a clod of earth and your eyes stretched in an empty sky. Whoa, whoa, whoa. What are we saying here? So turn in yourself, John. Bring back your eyes, fond man, from restless visioning. What is it to you that an eye is furtive? Furtive is, I think, it's furtive glances, right? That's the expression. Let's quickly see what furtive is correctly. I think it's furtive or furtive. Anybody? Attempting to avoid notice or attention, typically because of guilt or a belief that discovery would lead to trouble. Okay, so you hide yourself from, you glance with an attempt to not show your eyes. That's furtive. Okay, so furtive. Turn in yourself, John. Bring back your eyes, fond man, from restless visioning. So you're restlessly looking all over the world or consuming all the visuals it has to offer. What is it to you that an eye is furtive, a lip derisive, that speech is ruined, and no eyes lightning indicts the pages of book in lovely verse? What is indicts? Huh? Anybody? Indite is the wondrous tale of our. Oh, it just means write. Oh, write books. Okay. Indites the pages of books in lovely verse. That speech is ruined, and no eyes lightning indicts the pages of books in lovely verse. Become in your seeing blind, in your hearing deaf, or ever the lovely tide of spring will find you lip clinging to a clod of earth and your eyes stretched in an empty sky. So he says, give up on material or stop indulging in stimuli. You have stimuli all around you. Stop indulging in stimuli, or you'll just be lost looking only for more and more stimuli because your lip is clinging to a clod of earth. Your eyes are always stretched and looking for the empty sky. What is a clod of earth? I have not referred a dictionary so much in my life. A lump. A lump of earth or clay. Yeah, clay. You're right. Handful. Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I make of it. Anybody else?
Yes, yes. All our search is useless. So that's what is in the world, gross world.
Mm-hmm.
So next he may develop on that.
Sure. Only a deep cloud of a man can rain rains over parched earth. My gods are diminishing. Since You are a jealous God, one lovely in vanity of alone selfness. Let the mill of you grind this to flour for the hungry of you, or let their hunger grow into a crop of hunger, so that they will the more seek you, and cast this as dust to the wind. Yeah, the poet in the group, please tell us what's going on.
Deep, only a deep cloud of a man, that is Baba, can rain rains over parched earth.
Correct.
My gods
Okay.
are diminishing. What all I thought of God or things like that, they are diminishing. Since you are a jealous God, Baba is jealous God. One only in a vanity of alone selfness. Let the mill of you grind this of me. This is me to flour for the hungry of you, and let their hunger grow into a crop of hunger, so that they will the more seek you, and cast this as dust to the wind. So the grossness or the say body and other things are to be left to the wind as dust. But this hunger to reach you, that will keep on going. Probably something like that. Silence all around.
And yeah. No. I'm speaking with the mute on. So I say, yeah, I think I agree with all you said. Maybe the only thing I'll add is he's saying that he's also beseeching Baba to make more hunger possible. People more hungry to seek more of him. And
mill of you to grind this. So Baba
is the mill.
doesn't give you anything for
easy.
Ease. So he will grind you, so that you will become more and more of a dust of with all your grossness and subtleness, and then leave all that and then reach him.
Perfect. Yeah. Cast this as dust to the wind. Looks like the others have given up, Mama. It's just you and me.
You have to be of a literary bent of mind, actually.
I know.
The people who have enjoyed reading Shakespeare and Eliot and other people.
No, in fact, I've never enjoyed poetry, to be very honest. So I'm struggling with this, but I'm making the best best effort of my life.
Enjoying the struggle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, but it's also a game, right? So see, we have the support of some interpretation, some commentary like Ward and stuff like that. And then you try to piece together all that you've heard there and what you understand, what you see in the dictionary. And then there is this aha when you actually connect with what the poet wants to say. And that's a high, right? It's such a nice feeling to identify that.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah, you feel something you have explored, found something
exactly
new.
Exactly. So that's absent in prose. In ordinary prose, unless it's flowery and stylish and so on, you just read, you understand, and the communication is over. Here there is a game. The game is he's laying out clues and leaving things there all around, and then it's for us to navigate, find, and then say, hey, I know what you're trying to say, right? So it's a little game. So it's a tough game, I must say. But let's try playing. Next one.
Imagine this book is read by someone
non-Baba
who doesn't
people.
know.
Yeah, non-Baba
that
people.
Will be,
God help them. Baba help them. Correct. Okay, let's continue. Or when the grinding is done, either to flour or dust, Give me a word, a lovely singing word in my mouth, some honey word, some wine word to utter in singing, not for many, but for thou in my ear, to delight in, so that my ear may aid mine eyes to fix themselves only on your dear form, so that my ear may aid mine eyes to fix themselves only on your dear form, a singingness of a word, the lovely word of your name, thou beloved one, you.
Yes.
So
So
I remember. Yeah, go ahead.
you imagine this verse with the picture we saw first.
Yes, very, very, very true. I was reminded of that picture too.
Yes.
In fact, I think that picture is totally clearly inspired by this para. I'm pretty convinced. So anyway, what I see here is he's asking Baba for you know I'm tempted to use the analogy of the Eastern world, right? You get mantra diksha, right? Your master gives you a mantra for you as a disciple, a name, a love word, uh, like he says, honey word, wine word, whatever, a word that's yours for you to connect with your master and make that as your way of remembering him, loving him, and thinking of him. And that's what he's seeking. And that's how even Ward explains this stanza. Exactly, I think he doesn't use the word mantra, but then he explains it on similar lines. So I think it's a beautiful para again, right? Any other interpretations?
No, only that picture came to my mind very clearly when we read this.
Yes, yes. Let's continue. Become unstuck, God, in your entrancement in this which is called me, so that your own love for yourself may be released in a clear stream. Why do you allow yourself to fall into error, attaching yourself to everything you see through these eyes? You are the ever free, blissful one. I am the veil between yourself and you. Tear this veil which is between us. But if you cannot, ask Baba to do it for you.
Yes.
So who's
It's
he
a
talking
nice
to?
line. Yes, yes, it is the self, capital self,
Mm-hmm.
and I is the ego.
Okay.
So you, with this background and the process of reaching that capital self can be done better by Baba, by through Baba. So with this background, you read once again.
Okay. Become unstuck, God, in your
That is self.
entrancement. Mm-hmm. The biggest. Become unstuck, God, in your entrancement in this, which is called me, so that your own love for yourself may be released in a clear stream. Why do you allow yourself to fall into error, attaching yourself to everything you see through these eyes? You are the ever free, blissful one. I, now this is the smallest, I am the veil between yourself and you. Just destroy this. Tear this veil which is between us. But if you cannot, ask Baba to do it for you. So who's he talking to?
Himself.
So he's talking to himself. But the
Yes.
first line seems to sound like he's talking to God. Become unstuck,
No,
God,
you are
in your
God. No.
entrancement. In that sense, okay.
You are God.
Yeah, understood.
You are not
Understood.
realizing that. That is
Yeah,
what is
perfect.
there. Hope
It's,
others
those of
get
you,
what
those
I
of
tell.
you, yeah, those of you who are Excel users, I'll use an analogy. It's a circular reference, right, Ashok? When you write a formula in Excel, it gives you an error. It's a circular reference, right? So like that, he's like Mama pointed out, he's talking to God, which is himself, and asking himself to get rid of himself so that he can become God. Right? So it's beautiful. So it's let's continue.
I think
Ho.
I want that stanza to be marked out.
Yes.
Needs
Okay.
to be thought of so many times, so many different ways. Yes.
Sure.
Green.
Green. Yes, I will change it. It remembers the last one. It has too much red samskaras. Okay. Ho, the nothingness of the nothing, which is the things of thingness contained in the everything. Oh wow. Okay. The nothingness of the nothing, which is the things of thingness contained in the everything. Wow. This is dramatic. Ho, the nothingness of the nothing, which is the things of thingness contained in the everything. Nothing am I, and everything art thou, my beloved, lovely and loveliness itself. Ho, what a box of tricks you are, Krishna Baba. Ho, but you are the compassionate one himself, Buddha Baba, the most shepherd of the flocks of the world, Jesus Baba, the long shadowing spear and singing bow one, Rama, Achilles Baba. Lovely, lovely. So I was
my
actually
concept, I always
yeah.
call Krishna nowadays Krishna Baba.
Oh, nice. Okay. So we'll stop here. But in my
What is
preparation
this,
for today's
Achilles?
talk, yeah, that's the famous hero that he loves from Odysseus. He's the biggest warrior. He's the most feared and successful warrior. So he loves Achilles and keeps referring to him multiple times in the 4 books. Okay, right. So just this morning, I went back to that gem of a session that I shared with all of you on Nothing and Everything by Ward. Remember, I even gave the minute references and a video a few weeks back. Please go back to that and listen to that again. It's beautiful. I did that as part of my preparation for today, that talk. But it's beautiful. And then he exactly talks about this, right? Nothingness of the nothing, which is the things of thingness contained in the everything.
Everything.
Right? So the everything is nothing, but there is a nothingness in it, right? And that's what gives it its character. But finally, it's nothing, and because it's made out of nothing, right? Again, yeah, it's complicated stuff, but I enjoyed today's reading. I hope all of you did as well. I really have a hard stop because I forgot to be showered and ready in time for leaving. So I have to drive halfway across the city.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So
Jai Baba.
everybody have a great week ahead, and let's catch up next week. And again, for the nth time, lady and gentlemen, please try to catch up with those Ward Park videos. It makes this experience a lot more enjoyable. So please find free time when you work out, in your whatever free time you have. Please try to catch up with those.
Sure.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba, Karthik.
Jai Baba.
Yeah, thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank you.
Become,
Thank you, Mamaji.
and also
Ashokji.
become slightly more vocal in the
Yeah.
Tall,
session.
yes. Thank you. Yes.
I'm sure
Ravi,
Ravi
you
has
too.
his wine glass up, like listening to opera. This literature. Get that feel, no?
No wine glass. Just love of wine of love. That's it.
Yeah, Jai Baba. Because
But if
his
you
reading was
actually
like
have
an opera, hearing to an opera, actually. So that kind of words
classical.
So if you are
Jai Baba.
actually doing a wine glass, don't remember to break the stem.
Break this.
Excellent. मजा आ गया.
Good fun.
Good fun. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Bye bye.
Jai Baba. Jai
Bye
Baba.
bye.
Next week.